After a rousing curtain opener yesterday, Pirelli GT4 America is back for the second leg of its Sebring doubleheader. This challenging 17-turn, 3.7-mile layout here at Sebring is compounded by the famous bumps that perennially test man and machine. Nearly 30 GT4 cars from some of the top automotive brands are on hand to continue the season-long battle toward a championship here in the fourth race of this 2024 campaign. Welcome to Sebring, Florida. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside, and it's Amanda Busick as ever down in the pit lane for us. Getting ready to go for the final race of the weekend for SRO America. Lot to look forward to in this one, Calvin. GT4 racing, always a thriller, and Sebring has been the perfect stage for these cars over the course of the weekend.
It really has, and we've had an excellent start to the year with 3 barnstorming races so far. Expect another one here today. You've got that Hanley Motorsport Toyota Supra on the outside of the front run. Bit of a surprise of Max Root on debut with Black Dog Speed Shop sitting on the pole in the Pro-Am class entry as well. Bit of a disappointment last night after a fantastic win. The 23 car from Techsport was disqualified for being a little bit underweight. There was a late BOP change. That may be the reason for that, but they lost the win, and that gives Phil Garris and John Cabestro Dubets the win yesterday after we celebrated the 23 car winning during the show.
Check this out. They start next to each other here for race number 2. It'll be Mackay Stevens, the native of Evanston, Illinois, set to take the green flag, as you can see right there, in the number 23 from Techsport Racing that did win on the road but lost that win, as Calvin said, due to a post-race technical infraction. But this was the car that benefited John Capestro Dubets, Eric Filgaris. This was not even a lineup that we expected to see even a week before the start of the season. They came together very, very late, and they've proven to be a powerful combination. Well, Cal talked about Max Root starting on pole. His car owner and co-driver Tony Gaples is standing by with Amanda.
Hey guys, yeah, we're just off from the scene aside from the cars as we get started here for race 2 in Pirelli GT4. And Tony, you get to see that Nissan right there on pole position. Just talk about the synergy that's building between you and Max.
Well, I've known Max for about 4 years now, and you know, we've always talked racing. And when Mike wasn't able to get in the car this weekend, you know, his name came up, and I gave him a jingle, and he was able to make it happen. So we were pretty excited for that.
Racing in a new format this season. How's the transition to the Nissan going?
Well, you know, it's been an uphill struggle, but we think we figured some things out, and obviously we're on the pole, so hopefully we'll continue with that.
Good luck today in the race.
Thank you so much.
Veteran of this series, Tony Gaples, who put in a great qualifying effort for race 1 yesterday. Started in the top 10 overall. Now that car has the best track position you could hope for to start race number 2 here, and a very talented young driver filling in for Michael Cooper, as you heard Tony Gaples allude to.
Yeah, and I think they got a great potential here to at least finish on the podium. Tony always races great. He qualified, I think, up in the top 6 for yesterday's race, so he seems to be getting more a better feel for this Nissan. It's early days for that team with this platform, of course, so certainly exciting for that team to show such great speed this early in the season.
And there you look in at the other Techsport entry, Eric Powell and Colin Harrison. They get ready to go. Eric Powell had a strong drive yesterday. Colin got off to a really good start, too. He will get the task of finishing the race here today.
Yeah, and he put together some great battling there early in the race. It's sensational stuff with he and Kevin Boehm.
Yeah, plenty of cool stories, and that certainly is one of them. We look up and down this grid. You love the mix of cars you get in GT4 racing. These are proper race cars, still very much derived on the road-going variants of these cars, but modified heavily, of course, to go racing. They have some aero, they have some traction control and ABS, but nothing to the same degree as the GT3 cars. And what we've seen, Cal, is it's let them race very close together and put on a really good show.
It really does. They're not so aero-dependent as a GT3 car, so it allows you to run a little bit closer proximity, particularly through some of the faster corners. So, and such a mixture and melting pot of different manufacturers as we see assembled on the grid once again.
That's a cool story right there. The heart of racing, Hannah Grisham, Hannah Greenmeyer sharing the car this year, and they've just been podium machines over the course of this season, very much in the hunt for the AM-Class Championship. The car at the very back there that you could take a look at, the 36, that is the car that's won the AM Class Championship each of the past 2 seasons. Technical infraction in qualifying means that Charlie Postins and James Clay have to start at the back both races. They were really coming through the field yesterday before some contact took them out of the hunt, but they know the challenge that lies ahead starting out back again today.
Yeah, 2-time champs and starting off this year on the wrong foot, so they've got to really rebound and they need a good clean day. There's a little delay here with one of the Nissans getting away from the grid. No problem there. Yeah, so for James Clay, he needs a good clean start. Turn over Charlie, he always gives it a heck of a run. So we'll see if they can get up into the top 5. Maybe a podium would be a solid result from the back of the grid, I would think.
They've not gotten the season off to a very strong start, so just salvaging some points to give them something they can build from, that has to be in the back of their mind.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. 7 weekends in this championship, so we'll see what they can come up with. We're only at round 4, but not the ideal start, but that will make them dig a little bit more. And also the AM class is a lot stronger this year as well.
Look at the talent at the front of this field. Max Root on the pole position. Then you've got Parker Thompson, Mackay Stevens, Eric Filgaris, Roman DeAngelis. That's the top 5. But how about Austin Crines? What a great qualifying effort on pole in the AM class, and he put in a stirring drive yesterday to get the win in the car he shares with his father.
Yeah, it's really emotional for he and his dad after the race win yesterday, and they're looking to do it again. That's what Austin said, we're going to do it again tomorrow. Let's see if they can perform and make that happen.
After Austin, you get to Kevin Cook in the Random Vandals Racing BMW we saw a glimpse of just a few moments ago. Tyler Gonzalez, Mateus Lace, the former IndyCar driver, and Kai Van Berlo, the rest of the top 10. Some heavy hitters starting this race here today in race number 2. These are the drivers that finished the race in race 1 yesterday. When we talk about the starting order, let's look at the starting grid for race number 2. It is Max Root, the youngster on pole, former GT3 AM Class champion in the SRO paddock several years back. Next to Parker Thompson, Mackay Stevens and Eric Filgaris in row 2. Then Roman DeAngelis, really promising young Canadian, next to Austin Crines. Kitten Cook starts 7th today next to Tyler Gonzalez. Then it's Mateus Lace, the Brazilian ex-IndyCar driver, next to the Dutchman who calls Miami, Florida home, Kai Van Berlo. Eric Powell and Zach Anderson, both disappointed to be starting outside the top 10. They're back in row 6. Tom Dyer and Tyler McQuarrie. Difficult day yesterday for Tyler and that team. They start in 14th today. Dan Dzelski had a great day yesterday on debut next to Matt Millian, who got a win in AM, or at least a podium in AM. Chris Wilson, Seth Thomas in row 9. Stefan Radzinski and Jake Cowden. That's row number 10. We roll the grid back to the 11th row. Terry Borcheller for Karis Kallis race team next to another veteran in Nick Longy. Rob Holland starting further back than we're accustomed to seeing. He's 23rd next to Hannah Grisham, Lee Carpentier, and Lance Bergstein make up row 13. Alex Vogel and Sam Owen back on the penultimate row. And starting out back, like we mentioned, James Clay, Charlie Postins, 2-time and defending AM Class champs, all the way back, shotgun on the field after that qualifying penalty cost them times in both qualifying sessions. It means they come from the very back both Saturday and Sunday. Great field of cars, plenty of stories sprinkled throughout the grid, and we're about ready to turn them loose here as the field makes their way around the track on their first and only formation lap. This track, though, is always a big part of the story. Anytime you come to Sebring, you talk about the bumps, you talk about the history of the place. What made coming to Sebring so special for you, Cal?
Well, I just think the tradition, the history, as you've already mentioned, but I just love the racetrack. I mean, yes, the surface we talk about at the bumps, but there's some phenomenal corners around this circuit. Just the layout and the flow through certain sectors is really enjoyable. There's some big, wide braking zones, so it makes overtaking possible. So it should be a fun race here this afternoon.
Certainly should. Toyota GR Supra safety car accelerates away, and that means the field now is in the hands of the Rova Pole Award winner, Max Root, the number 9 Black Dog Speed Shop Nissan at the front of this field. He'll have Parker Thompson alongside the rapid young Canadian. Then it's Mackay Stevens and Eric Filgaris on row number 2. Roman DeAngelis in the AM Class pole sitter Austin Crines on the 3rd row. As the field comes towards the VP acceleration zone, we look to the flag stand for the green flag that will start the final race of the weekend here at Sebring. The race is on, coming down the front stretch here, and it's Root and Thompson in a drag race on the run down to the opening turn. Looks like Max Root will win the race there. The fight, though, on now for the third spot and further on back with Mackay Stevens door-to-door with Eric Filgaris.
Trying to sort themselves out here. Obviously, Root got the jump, and from Parker Thompson, he had to sort of like tuck back into the wake of him and me. Oh, there's a turn. Mackay Stevens is off. Is he going to escape hitting the fence? That was a wild ride there. Just got turned as he was accelerating there through turn 4.
Looked like he got into turn 3 deep, and that left him on the back foot. Great save by Mackay, but he lost tons of drag position, basically dropping to the back of this 29-car field. Max Root starting to get away a little bit. Parker Thompson settling in second. Then it's Filgaris. Then it's Roman DeAngelis, who had a nice start, up a couple spots. Roman slots in the 4th position.
Anderson there getting really racy on the 51 machine. Kind of wedged his way, make it 3 wide there on the exit of turn 7.
Kenton Cook, he's on the move. Up 2 positions here on the first lap. He got ahead of Austin Crines here recently. And behind him, looks like that's the Auto Technic machine, the 51 that's on the charge. Zach Anderson, big mover here on the opening lap.
Yeah, he's pretty aggressive there coming through the hairpin, and did make some moves and got away with it. 68 car here, Tyler Gonzalez. They were in great shape here yesterday, and they had a little hiccup in the pit lane where he didn't have it in gear to take off, so he'll be looking to rebound here today. Is Eric Powell on the move? Bold move there down through Bishop.
Oh yeah, Eric Powell not shy about coming forward. He is on the charge here, going door to door with that Toyota Supra that he's chasing. Here's some more door to door action. Chris Wilson up the inside of the 7 cars. That Kai Van Berlo, I think it is. Kai a little bit further down the order than you would expect. He and Kurt Swearingen have had a great weekend here in Sebring thus far.
Yeah, won their class here yesterday, and Swearingen's had a couple of really strong GT America performances as well. 13 car a little bit sideways there into the brake zone.
Powell looking again to the inside. He continues his charge up through the field. I think that's Tyler Gonzalez he's working on. Tyler's dropped back a couple of spots here on the opening lap. Root's lead over Thompson, 0.6 of a second. Then 0.4 back to Filgaris, DeAngelis, Cook, Crines. That's the top 6. This is that battle continuing here between Eric Powell in the black and red Nissan, and he gives chase to Tyler Gonzalez in the Smooch Racing Supra.
Yeah, Gonzalez off and on there through turn 1, just keeps it together. I don't think he really lost any momentum with that little moment.
Root, the overall leader, also leads in the Pro-Am class. Parker Thompson, 2nd overall, but leading in the silver class. Filgaris, that would be 4th position in silver. Then DeAngelis, who runs 2nd in Pro-Am. Kenton Cook, he's 3rd in silver. And then Austin Crines in the Porsche, the leader right there in the Am class, mixing it up amongst the top 10.
Yeah, Crines doing a really nice job here. Next Am position is Chris Wilson back in 14th overall.
And he did get that win alongside his dad yesterday. What a tremendous result and a big celebration in Victory Lane. If they could make it 2 for 2, this would make for a very special weekend for the father and the son.
Crines there looking to the inside there on Kenton Cook as they came into Tower Corner, turn 13.
Took a look a moment ago. Matt Millian had a really good day yesterday. Currently 3rd in the Am class. Part of that Auto Technic squad, new co-driver alongside him this weekend, something that came together very late. We'll talk more about that as the show progresses. Taking a peek here at John Farrow's operation, the number 34, that's Cowden, running back in 17th overall. Mackay Stevens, that's where he is slotted back in line after that very scary moment.
That was a great save. I thought for sure he was in the fence, just got turned as they were accelerating through that 3-4-5 complex of corners.
Cowden makes the pass stick on his former team right there, going around the 34. Incident, by the way, involving this car, Mackay Stevens, and also the 24 of Roman DeAngelis. That's going to be reviewed post-race, so there is some thought, evidently, from race control that there might have been some contact that led to that big moment there for Mackay Stevens.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who it was, but he definitely got nudged there. Just, I think Roman just continued to accelerate as Mackay was a little bit sideways and just turned him.
Now, yesterday we saw the Nissan up front in the hands of Stevens and his co-driver Jonathan Neudorf. They won that race on the road, but right now it's Black Dog Speed Shop showing the way for Nissan.
Two Japanese manufacturers leading the way here. Nissan over Toyota. Then Phil Garris came away with the win here. Yesterday came into the weekend in the top 5 in points. Decent start, but they were looking for a little bit more, and they've certainly performed so far this weekend.
We mentioned the potential contact between DeAngelis and Stevens. Oh, spin there. That's Nick Longy, yeah. Goes around in the McLaren. Some right front damage.
So maybe he was trying to get down to the inside of someone.
Okay, this is that opening lap that we were talking about. Just the
Right
little
there.
nudge.
Yeah, just trying to cross over there. It was subtle, but it was enough to turn him. Be a harsh call, but maybe the fact that Mackay continued and didn't hit was in DeAngelis' favor, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, that incident to be reviewed post-race, so let's just remember that as it relates to Roman DeAngelis, Ray Newell, and Heart of Racing the rest of the way. Any position we see them running in, that is very much provisional pending that post-race review. Getting a report from Amanda in the pits. At the Flying Lizard team, Stefan Radzinski currently driving, reporting high temperatures in that car with the powertrain. And it is a hot day today, Cal, no question about it. That will stress some of these cars, some more than others.
Yeah, and as you say, they're production based, so unfortunately a lot of these cars still have some of the safety items kicking in, so if you get outside of the threshold, suddenly they can go into not like a limp home mode, but a safety mode where they'll take away power or richen up the engine or something like that. So you've got to be careful to keep those temperatures well in check. It's tough to do when you got this much traffic all around you.
This battle has been raging since the drop of the green. Eric Powell putting the pressure on Tyler Gonzalez right behind this car that continues to show the way in the AM class. That's Austin Crines. But behind them, we do have a penalty just now being handed down. The car is number 36, and that's James Clay.
Wow. Season goes from bad to worse. Maybe that's on Longy, I'm not sure. See. So Longy got roughed up there and lost that front dive plane. So James had to be forceful there coming from the back of the pack, but that's going to hurt them dearly. You lose about 30 seconds plus coming down pit lane with everyone else out there under green flag conditions.
Just a miserable weekend here in Sebring, and quite frankly, Sonoma wasn't a whole lot better. There have not been many weekends like this for Clay and Postins over the past 2+ seasons racing together. Very strange to see, given their level of success. Checking in here, Kenton Cook in the 97, Zach Anderson in the 51. These two teams and cars found each other several times over the course of the season last year. There was a rivalry that was friendly, I would say, most of the time, but every once in a while it threatened to bubble over.
Yeah, and it was their teammates yesterday, went side by side for so long, wasn't it? That
yes.
was Garrett and Kevin Bowman, as I recall from yesterday, did just had some great racing. It went on for about 3/4 of a lap, side by side.
Those guys currently running 5th and 6th overall, but 3rd and 4th in their class. So this is for a provisional spot on the podium. Anderson lets it run wide around the outside. Kenton Cook able to keep the door shut there. Anderson just looking every which way, trying to find a gap that he can exploit.
Yeah, I think his car looks to be a little bit more hooked up than Kenton's does at the moment, so he's looking for a way through. Auto Technique got a really good setup, it looks like, underneath him right now.
Two really talented young American drivers that have excelled in recent seasons in this BMW platform. Seen Kenton also running in Aston Martin machinery going back a couple of years with Brian Putt. And for Zach Anderson, he did win an M-Class championship in this series several years ago in a Porsche for Nola Sport.
He did. And that really got everyone's attention, some of the performances he put in there as an AM. So it's given him opportunity, and he works hard at it. It's hard to make these programs come together, and Zach certainly deserves every chance he gets, as he is top shelf when it comes to driving talent.
This continues to be really entertaining here, as Max Root now leads by 1.6 seconds at the very front of the field. But the fight between Gonzalez and Powell is really, really good. Tom Dyer and Dan Zelski engaged in a battle here too. Dyer in the Aston, Zelski in the Mercedes. They're all kind of stacked up behind, including Mackay Stevens, who is on the comeback drive now. Stevens back up to 14th overall, but he has some work to do to get to the rest of that silver class.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. He's done a great job to charge back through this field, and just shows you the level of competition. Man, Berlo in front of him, he had a win here yesterday, so it just shows that he's now sitting in 13th in race 2, and he's a really talented young driver as well. So stacked field here this weekend.
Eric Powell slips to the inside of the reigning Toyota GR Cup champion, Tyler Gonzalez. Could this be the moment where he's able to make the move stick? He's been close on a couple of occasions, and it looks like the power of that Nissan might be enough to at least put him in a position here entering turn number 1. They've got the AM class leader just ahead of them, and look at that, Gonzalez super committed at turn end. He's able to hang on.
Yeah, Eric Powell is really just trying to work out a solution to this puzzle that he's got with Gonzalez. I think his car is quicker, but Gonzalez is digging deep here, throwing it through there, through turn 4. That was pretty lurid. He just got to keep it together nice and tidy out turn 5, which he does.
Sneaking into the picture, Tyler McQuarrie. Big bounce back day needed from that operation. They're running in the top 10 overall right now.
Came into this weekend really strong in points, so it's disappointment to have that contact yesterday.
Never really had a chance to show their strength in that race yesterday. Dyer.
Tom Doyer's a bit of a cork in a bottle there. Dan Dashelski had just such a great race here yesterday, finishing on the podium.
On debut, let's not forget, just 16 years old. He's got his hands full of Mackay Stevens at the moment. He left the door open, and Stevens wasted no time. Took full advantage of that, up one more spot. Not for class position though, so not necessarily a fight worth fighting if you are Dan Zelski. In the AM class, one of the fun stories of the season has been Auto Technic. Matt Milligan made his debut in Sonoma, and he's got a new co-driver with him here this weekend. It's a pretty cool story, Amanda.
Well, you're talking about podium celebrations. Yesterday, this guy, Ryan Keeley, also sprayed champagne, said it was the first time he's done that. But you can see behind me from Auto Technic, Rob Driscoll. He made the call to Ryan and told him he was driving this weekend as he was driving the hauler down here for Auto Technic. And Ryan, you said right after this, you got to get back in and drive to COTA. How much of a dream is this for you?
This is such a big dream. I never expected in a million years to be here. I have to thank Rob, everybody on the team for this amazing opportunity. It's just awesome. Plus, getting to drive with my best friend, Matt, as my co-driver, it's a dream.
Look forward to see what happens with you today. Ryan, I think he's winning the sunglass game, too, this weekend.
Very strong.
He's rocking it. Give Bill Oberlin a run for his money.
In the meantime, Eric Powell has been able to make the move on Gonzalez. He now puts the move on Crines, and he will try to disappear off into the sunset before Tyler McQuarrie can get back to him. McQuarrie has gotten around Gonzalez too, so Crines will be the next target for the BMW driver, Tyler McQuarrie.
Yeah, these Nissans seem to be really strong here this weekend. Eric Powell's putting on quite the show, as is Max Root, who continues to lead here for Black Dog Speed Shop. That lead now is up to almost 3 seconds over Parker Thompson, who still sits in second, but leading in the silver class division.
Parker can afford to bide his time. He knows that fight is not with Max Root. Out of class car ahead of him. It's all about positioning himself relative to Eric Filgaris and putting his young charge, Dan Handley, in a position to go and fight in the second half of this race. CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race belongs to Max Root, quickest in every single sector around this track, and he's turning laps even still. to within a tenth or two of that fastest lap of the race. He is on rails.
He really is, and if this race stays green, he's going to build a nice cushion for Tony Gaples to try and work with when we get to the second phase of this race, when the AMs jump on board. So this is a really strong run, and Tony said it had been an uphill struggle. I think when they initially got the car out for a little bit of testing, they said, well, we've got some work to do, but they seem to have got to grips with it really quickly, and it's showing here with the lap pace that Max Root was displaying here in the early going after a phenomenal pole position as well.
Super experienced team, many years racing GM products, whether it's been Camaros or Corvettes. A couple of years with McLaren machinery, then went back to the Camaro last year.
Yep.
Now driving the Nissan. It's taken a little bit of time to get used to that idea. Max Root, by the way, just reset the Crown Strike fastest lap of the race. Only driver in the field to have gone sub 2 minutes 12 around this place, and that's allowed him to build his gap up to 3.6 seconds.
And that's something when you think about the skill set of Parker Thompson and how strong Hanley Motorsports have been here over the last 12 months or so. To streak away like this is really saying, making a statement for that Nissan and for Max Root's ability. Parker Thompson, though, he's got to think about the big prize, which is the class win.
Exactly so, and with that in mind, making sure he saves tires for his teammate to work with in the second half of the race. How about some drivers on the move? Zach Anderson, you're looking at him right here, tails away. The number 51 from Auto Technic, up 6 spots. Same for Hannah Grisham. Good charge for Hannah up through this field. McQuarrie up 5 spots. Powell and Borcheller also gaining 4 positions in the early going here.
Yeah, definitely some movers and shakers right there. It's fascinating to see all of the drivers that are kind of mid-pack. I mean, people have got tremendous accolades behind their name and their career, and that just shows how deep this field is.
AM class leader, Austin Crines. Tyler McQuarrie has caught him, but has not been able to make quick work of him by any stretch of the imagination. For Crines, his closest competitor in class is Chris Wilson, all the way down in 15th overall. So he has a nice gap that he's built for his father, Roland, to try and take it home.
Yeah, McQuarrie's just been a great fit since he joined James Walker Jr. aboard that machine. Just came up shy in the championship last year, had a disappointing final race there at Indianapolis. We're definitely in with a shout of the championship, and had a really strong start to their campaign at Sonoma as well.
Corey in the red line lubricants machine makes the pass. Ooh, battle on our hands here. This is Kenton Cook to the inside of Roman DeAngelis, not for class position, but it does move Cook up a spot in the overall running order, and Anderson really let it hang out wide.
Well, it looked dramatic because the other 2 cars were so tight coming off a turn one, with Kenton really going on the defense immediately, and suddenly you saw Zach Anderson on the opposite side of the road and almost in the dirt.
Cook up and over those curbs. Now has a bit of a buffer. The DeAngelis car out of class relative to the 2 silver class BMWs. Here comes Anderson looking up the inside. Yes. Up 1 more spot. And now he can put his focus back in on Kenton Cook.
Yeah, and I think this really showcased what a great job Kenton Cook is doing here, because I don't think his car is maybe as dialed in as certainly Zach Anderson's looked in the early going, at least. Maybe the balance is maybe coming back to this Random Vandals machine.
And behind this trio, Eric Powell is flying. He just did that car's best lap of the race at a 2:12.2. That's only a couple tenths off Max Root's Crown Strike fastest lap of the race. So this is a car that is moving in one direction, forward.
Yeah, and Tech Sport would have loved to bounce back after scoring the victory on the road here yesterday in the sister machine, but losing it with that post-race Tech infraction of being just a little bit underweight.
Took away the first ever win in international competition for this car, which debuted in this championship last year. Went through a development phase thanks to this Tech Sport Racing team, and came back with a finely honed product that in customer hands as well as in the Tech Sport team's hands has looked incredibly strong, as exemplified by the fact that Max Root is running away with this thing right now.
Yeah, well, within about 3.5 minutes of when the window of opportunity comes for the pit stop, where you won't exceed the maximum drive time for your second driver. So I think for Max Root, you'll see him stay out a little bit deeper into this race, and anyone else who's got a pro with a bit more pace in the car, try and maximize that duration. But for anyone who's got an AM in the car and trying to get the pro in.
There it is, Tony Gaples, team owner, Black Dog Speed Shop. Of course, has a big tuning arm as well outside of the racing.
As you can see, he's not close to getting in the car. He's just chilling, watching the progress, watching the timing and scoring, analyzing what's going on.
So much experience, though, so many race wins. There was a period of time you could set your watch to him winning the Hard Charger Award, right?
Yeah.
You knew it was going to happen. He was always a little bit conflicted about it. He used to say something to the effect of, well, that just means I'm bad at qualifying.
Yeah.
But he proved that that's not true here this weekend. Again, yesterday in particular, in this car, I thought his qualifying effort was exemplary.
Yeah, it was really strong. I mean, when you see Tony up there in the top 5 or 6, that's really strong and an indicator of the performance of the car. And I think Tony has become a better qualifier as well. It's not just the Nissan. He has started to step up in that department.
At one time, Mackay Stevens was certainly outside the top 20.
20, yeah.
And he has now worked his way back into the top 10 after getting seemingly nudged off the track. Here we can give you some idea. He was down at least as far as 19th, according to Race Vision, powered by AWS, and has recovered to get back into the top 10 overall, having just dispatched of Tyler Gonzalez.
It's been a frustrating season so far. I know it's early days and everyone's been very patient with that program, but for Mackay, got turned coming out of the carousel, I believe, by Zach Anderson, who got a penalty, I think, at Sonoma. And then yesterday they won the race and then lost it post-race, and now he's got turned early in this one. So, but the speed is there, the potential is there, and it's great to see Mackay Stevens get this opportunity, because I really feel he is really, really strong in every department of being a pro driver.
Well, we've seen him over the last few years in the Conquest Run JMF Motorsports Mercedes, and we knew how good he was in that platform, but this is a totally different type of program. This is a car still being developed. It's a car that has an edge to it. Mackay was quite candid with us when we talked to him at Sonoma, noting that he just doesn't feel that comfortable in the car yet, and despite that, his pace has continued to be very, very strong, as we saw yesterday.
And he's found himself another really impressive young teammate as well.
Kidding.
In Newdorf. He was amazing yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of promise displayed by him. Gonzalez might have a little front end damage. It looks like the front splitter's slightly askew on the right-hand side in particular. He drops the wheels off on the left-hand side there. Tom Dyer has now run him down. Dyer has Dan Dzelski right behind him.
Yeah, Dyer looked like his car wasn't handling great at the beginning of the race. Saw him have a couple of kind of lurid moments, but he seemed to got it settled down now, is back on the charge.
Tom, part of that Flying Lizard lineup. Todd Perriott has already been on track today. That's his co-driver. He raced in GT America. Had a really fun battle with Nick Shanny both days, in fact. But Dyer, veteran presence with that team. He's been racing at a high level for a couple decades at this point, and is an asset anywhere he gets plugged in with that level of experience that he brings.
Shelski's hanging tough with these two drivers. They have a lot more experience than him, so he's doing a really solid job here again. Coming off that tremendous debut podium here yesterday. Dyer's got a run here on Gonzalez. Shelski tries to go with him.
Puts the nose to the inside, signaling his intent. Gonzalez, though, slots in between. What happened to Dzelski? Or is he pitting? We're in the window. I think Ryspec Racing will blink first. They did this strategy yesterday, calling in Johann Schwartz early.
Yeah, I think they must have.
Yep.
Now Tony Gables is getting suited and booted, ready to go, but we expect Max Root to stay out there probably another close to 10 minutes. Maximize the pace that he's got and the clean air that he's got on the front end of his race car.
And Cal, he does have pace. His last lap was only 0.004 of a second off of his best, set back on the 7th lap of the race.
Well, he recognizes if he can, without abusing the tires, remember that, as you said earlier, Ryan, that the second driver to stay on the same set of Pirelli P0, so long as he's managing his tires, the bigger gap he can create, that'll ease the task for Tony Gables when he jumps in behind the wheel. Right now, that gap is about 12 seconds back to the next Pro-Am entry of Eric Powell.
This is the Krug Speed team with the little driver hopscotch in and out. Another one of those Toyota Supras that have become so popular here in recent seasons. There goes the Raceway car, Johann Schwartz, the Danish expat, former touring car champion, and guy with rich history in drifting, has set some world records when it comes to drifting over the years, so we know he's got some car control. We'll see what he can do in his stint. Don't expect this stint to be over anytime soon here for Max Root. He's going to run as deep into this as he can until he's right up against the maximum stint length per the regulations.
Which is 35 minutes, which means 25 left on the board is when you have to be in pit lane.
His lead over Parker Thompson is 6.4 seconds.
It's just been a clinic so far, just incredibly impressive. For Tony to say it's been an uphill battle, well, it hasn't been an uphill battle for long. It seemed like they crested the peak pretty early in this season with this sort of performance.
Credit to the Black Dog team, Ray Sorensen and company, for the work they've put in to turn out a quick race car, and credit to Nissan again. We talked about it sub yesterday, but all the Nissan teams in the paddock just rave about the support they're getting. And Nissan, it seems like every weekend there's a pretty big contingent of folks from the factory in Yokohama that have made the trip over stateside to keep a close eye on the progress of this program. They have to like what they're seeing today. Gonzalez is out. It will be John Jesbray in for Smooge Racing. Rob Holland steps out of his machine for Rotec Racing. And what is this? This is the AM class car for Heart of Racing. So Hannah to Hannah here. It's pretty easy to call the turnover. Ooh, and we got a car off. Is that the Cowden car? I think it is, and it's not in a good spot.
No, he's not far away. If he can tuck it inside, though, you see that orange overlap there on the concrete wall there. That's what we call a safe haven. But it doesn't seem he's got enough power to get there unless he's trying to do a Control-Alt-Delete with a race car. And this may force the issue for some of these cars that are staying out to come here. And it gets a bit complicated if you suddenly get a full course yellow within this window with cars pitting. Can work for you, can work against you if there's suddenly a safety car sent, but you're out there running your own lap times. Let's see if anyone responds to this. He stays out. That's our leader, Max Root, as does Parker Thompson. And they will have seen that car, even if the teams aren't aware of it. They would have certainly reported that in. There's a car stranded on the side of the track. What do we do?
Thompson has come in. I think that was the Krug Speed car that was there behind Root. Very similar looking color with the two Supras there. So Thompson does come in, and this might be that strategy play, covering off a full course yellow here in the middle of the pit window. If you get caught out by that and have not pitted, then there's a pretty good chance you get cycled back behind everyone who has pitted. So I think that's why you see so many making the dive to the pit lane.
Yeah, and the officials are aware of that by doing a full course yellow, it can really throw the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of strategy. So unless the car's in a very dangerous spot, and I'd say that's relatively safe, but anything can go wrong at high speed down that Ullman straightaway. Cover it with a local yellow maybe till we get a little bit deeper. Terry Borschaller just giving Nick Shaney a tap on the shoulder. Go get him.
Cook out, Kevin Boehm in for Random Vandals.
This is normal for nothing to be happening here. They got to wait and make sure they don't transition too quickly. Got to be on pit lane for 84 seconds from pit in to pit out. Driver change, slight tire pressure adjustments are allowed.
Should mention yesterday's silver class winners, RS1, they've made their pit stop. So John Capestro-Dubets is in that car now. Car started by Eric Filgaris. Out comes now Dan Hanley for Hanley Motorsports. Playing a busy place here at the moment. The always dangerous blend of cars at speed into turn one with those that are leaving the pits. Root still on the track. We'll see, does he make the call this time by?
Yes, he does.
So that is the race leader in. I think everyone else has already made the call. We'll keep an eye on it. How much does the extra lap at speed help Black Dog Speed Shop with their young ace, Max Root?
Yeah, no traffic on pit lane as well. That eases the process. Tony Dix leisurely walk out to the race car. No need to panic here. You got plenty of time. Just make sure you don't get the belts trapped underneath the driver jumping in here. It's well orchestrated. But if you have a little delay, then the panic sets in and it all goes a little bit sideways in a hurry.
One mechanic over the wall checking tire pressures. The lone adjustment that is allowed is simply to bleed off some tire pressure. Plugging in that radio belt. Somehow it's always easier when you practice it than it is in race situations, right?
It is. And the other key is to make sure you're practicing it with a helmet and that HANS device on. That makes a world of difference just in terms of being able to look down and see where the belts are and getting them clipped in.
Everything looks pretty clean. One pit stop to note, the turnover from Eric Powell to Colin Harrison was a long one, 13 seconds over.
That hurts.
Also, James Walker Jr. for Bimmerworld and the car Tyler McQuarrie started moderately under the minimum. That should be a very minuscule penalty coming to them, time penalty post-race.
Yeah, that's just a sniff, like 26,000, so it doesn't really add up to much, couple of tenths penalty.
Okay, here comes Gaples into the overall lead of the race thanks to the efforts of Max Root. How quickly can he get up to pace? Well, doesn't really matter. Safety car is out.
Yeah, well, we suspected that they'd wait for basically everyone to hit pit lane, but that minimizes the gap and the cushion that Max Root had built up. So good news is Tony's out there and got the track position. Bad news is going to have a lot of fast competitors a lot closer to him now.
Yes. Although the line of cars that will be stacked up behind him will primarily, at least the first four of them, be from the silver class before you get to the next car in his class. That's Gray Newell. That's the car that has a sort of Damocles hanging over it because there is that post-race penalty, potentially, post-race review, let's say, of early race contact. James Walker Jr. and company up into the third spot. They've got that tiny time penalty coming their way too post-race. Looks like actually that pit stop didn't cost Powell and Harrison all that much. They're still in decent position, especially with this yellow coming out, bunching them back all together.
Trying to figure out who may feel that they've got an advantage here. I mean, it's going to compress everyone up, but trying to look at this. I mean, number 28 car, I mean, John Capestro-Dubets, he's now going to be right on the tail of Daniel Hanley, so he'd have to work hard to get up to that gap that Parker Thompson had built. So that's good news for RS1, going for 2 victories in a row. And for Gray Newell, that's certainly good news. He's now the second car in the Pro-Am division, sitting in 6th place overall.
I'll tell you who else this might help. The 23 car that Mackay Stevens started. Remember, they had that big off early, and Mackay fought them back into the top 10. Now the very quick Jonathan Neudorf in this car right here finds himself 8th. Does have a couple of Pro-Am cars to get by, but he's effectively right back into the mix to fight for a podium.
That's a great point. He's got some tough competitors to get around. It's not going to be easy, but the pace that he displayed yesterday at the start of race 1 was super impressive, and you'd have to think he's going to be on the charge here a little bit.
This would be unexpected, to say the least. The Karis race team, issues with the right front, it would appear. Don't see any evidence of contact. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of that. But that's unfortunate for Nick Shandy and Terry Borcheller.
I thought that cleanup could have been relatively quick. There was a safe haven right there. Safety car is now going to pull on down in turn 1 and lead this field back around, but it should be a quick cleanup, I would think.
I suspect this will be the only lap. The problem was the yellow came out after Max Root had already passed the safety car deployment, so they had to come back around again to pick up the safety car. Because I'm with you, I suspect that the cleanup is already complete. There's Shandy and Borcheller. All right, and do some interpretation for us here, Calvin.
Well, I think that Terry's obviously talking to Nick about what's going on with the car. We saw the right front obviously look loose, maybe a broken suspension piece, so maybe there was contact. And I think Nick was just relating to what the car was feeling like on the way back to pit lane.
Yeah, tough break for that pair. While we're under the safety car, Mackay Stevens had a very interesting opening stint, and he is standing by now with Amanda Busick.
Yeah, he just relayed to me it might have been a bit of a mistake on his part. He wasn't sure that he got touched there on that off, and Mackay, you got right back into it and charged right back through the field. How do you regain your composure in those moments?
I think that's the beauty of motorsport. Yet again, you never know when the lesson's going to meet you head on, and this morning it certainly faced me. In the spirit of the team and the good nature of the sport, try to put the head back on your shoulders and push forward. It was very entertaining working with the field. Credit to all the drivers out there. Kept it clean, and if I got touched, it got touched, but more importantly, I'd take the responsibility for it.
Currently under 4 Courchevel conditions. Can this help the effort?
Always. You know, the racing gods are there when you least need them and when you most need them, so we'll see.
Always words of wisdom with Mackay Stevens.
For sure. Really impressive young man. As you said earlier, great to see him get this opportunity to spearhead at least this side of the effort for Tech Sport alongside Eric Powell in the sister car.
Yeah, and cool that he wanted to essentially accept responsibility. I think he had a little moment there, and I think that's what caught out Roman DeAngelis, who kind of got into him, had nowhere to go with this. He's trying to really escape him and go back to the right-hand side and end up just turning Mackay. And I think the reason the stewards wanted to wait, they'll probably try and pull the video cards, I would think, and look at that and see if Roman just kind of drove through him and see if they can gauge the responsibility from that angle.
Looks like the lights are off on the safety cars, so effectively we've got new drivers installed, we've re-racked the field, and we're about to send them off onto the break here in just a few moments. Ready for a mad dash over the final 22 minutes in the final race of the weekend at Sebring International Raceway. Tony Gaples in the car that has led from the drop of the green, thanks to, in large part, his co-driver Max Root. He's out in front. He'll be leading the field into the VP acceleration zone. But then 4 hungry silver class drivers sitting right behind. Dan Hanley, John Capestro-Dubets, Kevin Bohm, Colin Garrett sitting right there. Then you get to the rest of the front runners in Pro-Am with Gray Newell and James Walker Jr. What's about to happen? We're about to find out.
Tony hopefully has prepped these tyres, got them cleaned off, ready for this restart. Got a lot of really fast cars coming up behind him. He's got to manage this. He's got to be talked through this by Ray Sorensen on the radio.
Really strong restart from Tony Gaples in the Black Dog Speed Shop Nissan. There's the green flag here at Sebring International Raceway. And on the break, it is Gaples making the run down to turn number 1. Out of line, JCD in the Cayman, looking to the inside of Dan Hanley for the lead in the silver class. He can't get it, but he's balked. That might open the door for Kevin Bohm. Instead, it's still JCD on the attack as he closes in. Contact with the Supra, and he slides inside to grab P1.
Maybe a little bit of damage on the right front of the RS1 Porsche as well with that move. You see some pieces flying.
Now he's got the leader in the Pro-Am class, Tony Gaples, straight ahead. What will Dan Hanley do? How quickly can he regroup? He's got a very hungry Kevin Bohm waiting in the wings. Fighting now for second and third in silver. And don't sleep on Colin Garrett either in the second of the BMWs to come through the shots.
Tony Gaples has done a great job here on this restart. See a car off and on there through turn 7 to just get the hammer down and focus forward.
And the car that won on the road yesterday, only to lose that win due to a post-race technical infraction. Jonathan Neudorf, who sat on pole yesterday. That's the Tech Sport Nissan right there on the tail of the 51 of Colin Garrett, fighting for the final position on the podium in silver.
And you called it. I think he's the driver who's most relieved to get that full caution here and get a little bit of a reset and compression of this field so he can go to work here in the last 20 minutes of this race. And he's off and on. Pushed it too much through Tower.
He's had his hands full, but he's able to corral it. Jonathan Neudorf keeps his foot on the loud pedal, chasing after that front group of 5 cars led by Tony Gaples, who's done a great job here on the restart.
Yeah, it's not like they're crawling all over him. He's got pace there up front in the Pro-Am lead.
Oh, Gaples with a bit of a slide, though, coming on to the Ullman straight. Will that leave him vulnerable relative to the cars giving chase, led by John Capestra-Dubets? JCD is there in the slipstream, but the battle might be further back. Bohm side by side with Garrett. Neudorf there too, and it's the 51 car of Colin Garrett that has gone through. Bohm fighting back to the inside on the counterattack now.
Was there a touch there? Bohm got really tight there through 17. The front end started to leap across the road. Not sure if he got into Garrett or not. It looked really tight.
Under 19 minutes to go. Gaples down the inside of the track. John Capestra-Dubets around the outside, and he sweeps into the overall lead, looking for back-to-back wins for the RS1 squad.
Tony's just got to settle back in, get into his rhythm. Just be talked through it. He just needs to know where that second place runner, Gray Newell, is, and James Walker sitting there in third, where they are in relationship to him.
Boom, under assault right now. That's Neudorf, who has made the attempt, trying to go the long way around, unable to do so. Nissan versus BMW with the run through Big Bend down to the hairpin. Everyone super defensive, also trying to avoid a bump that's in that section of the racetrack. You see drivers weaving to the inside to avoid that, even when they're not under just a ton of pressure.
Tony Gaples has got to be managed here because his pace is about 2 seconds faster than the chasing Gray Newell and James Walker Jr. on that last lap. I'm not sure if that was traffic affected or not, but he's got pace. He's just got to somehow manage this buzzing hornet's nest right behind him.
It's a tough spot to find yourself in with the front runners in the silver class bottled up back there. But you're right, Cal. It's not like they're adding just a ton of pressure to Tony Gaples. He settled back in, has some good pace. In the meantime, Gray Newell and James Walker continue to fight for second and third at the back of the shot. Well, it's been a frantic restart, Amanda. What are you learning down in the pits?
Yeah, if you go back to that overtake that Colin Garrett just had, his team was massively celebrating here. I hope Colin Garrett is as proud of himself as they were. He's been talking about his performance and coming into this season. Wanted a little better out of himself after Sonoma, and he said that he owes it all to Zach Anderson. They actually drove an RV down here together from Charlotte, and luckily they liked the same radio station. It was a Meadowfield drive down, but he said that he had a couple options heading into the season, but decided to go with Zach Anderson as a way that he wanted to be with a driver that was better than him so that he could work on that performance and become a better racing driver himself.
It's worked out well so far, and that's another one where we saw the lineup at the start of the season and thought, yep, that checks a lot of boxes. And right now, Colin Garrett, who looked like he was on his way to a NASCAR career, has found road racing and found some success. He's going side by side here with Hanley, and it looks like he's able to take that spot away. Hanley now feeling the pressure from Neudorf.
Yeah, really nice move there. Tony Gaples, though, his pace is super impressive again on that last lap. He had pace over Newell and Walker, who are giving chase for that Pro-Am win here today. He's got about a second in hand, so he's got pace there. He's just got to manage this fast traffic right behind him.
Yeah, the 4 cars behind Gaples are not for class position. Let's not forget that. How he chooses to handle this traffic, that's the big question mark here. Neudorf, Hanley, and Bohm super close together. None of those 3 drivers have a ton of GT4 experience. Neudorf, the least experienced of the 3.
And into Cunningham corner, turn 10. Neudorf looks to the outside there. Hanley's hanging tough. Neudorf kind of pushes his way through there. Didn't hit him, but Hanley's going to have the inside here. Neudorf's going to try and run around the cushion here. See if they can coexist coming off the corner. They do.
Great respect between the two. They gave each other just enough room. Neudorf is through. Bohm trying to follow him past. Dan Hanley hemorrhaging spots here the last couple of corners.
Yeah, he's been under intense pressure, and again, they're one of the teams that didn't want to see that full course yellow and raise the gap that Parker Thompson had established during his first stint.
And reshuffles the order in the silver ranks. John Capestro-Dubets has taken off and left this group. He leads overall and in silver. Then it's the Pro-Am leader, Tony Gaples, coming your way. Orange accent silver hood on that Nissan. Then you get to the Colin Garrett-driven number 51, second in that silver class, followed by Neudorf. What a result this would be to get back on the podium after Mackay Stevens got either knocked off or just went off track on the opening lap and dropped outside of the top 20.
Incredible. Neudorf has got pace. Just got to work with the time available. Still plenty of time on the board, but you can't be assured that this is going to finish under green. So you think I've got plenty of time, as now we see Garrett slide down the inside of Tony Gaples. Tony just, if he can just let him go one at a time and then just get into that little gap in the traffic ahead of the other Pro-Am runners, he'll be fine.
There is a pretty sizable gap for Tony to slot into. It might be safer to do so with all these cars fighting for class position around him. Neudorf looking inside, looking outside, stymied into the braking zone of 7. We talked about this car. Now just one position off of the starting position, incredibly, for this 23 car. Stevens, Neudorf, with a little assist from the yellow, they find themselves on the cusp of a remarkable day.
Tony Gaples, what a performance. He's just digging deep. He's a racer at heart, and he's just really showcasing the strength of his abilities and this Black Dog Speed Shop Nissan. He's just got to make sure that he doesn't get into a battle he doesn't need to be involved with. So if Neudorf gets aggressive, let him go. Don't fight him. In the backdrop, you can see the cars that Tony has got to be thinking about, led by Gray Newell over... Actually, I say that. I don't see James Walker Jr. on the timing and scoring right now. I'm not sure if something's happened to James Walker Jr. here. Looks like he's dropped down the order a little bit, now down in 11th.
Wow. 2 tough days for that tandem. Again, Gaples, the Pro-Am leader, and he is the Am in that lineup, up against some silver-rated drivers here all around him in the form of Neudorf, Garrett, Bohm, Hanley. But Gaples, I will say this, has almost a lifetime's worth more experience than some of these young drivers around him. He might be graded as an Am in a Pro-Am, but he's been around the block a few times and won races at a very high level.
Yeah, but just think about this. I mean, Neudorf started the race yesterday and just took off from the field, and he's keeping him at bay right now, so that really puts into perspective the sort of performance that Tony is putting in.
Neudorf for the background in Spec Miata racing, did some MX-5 Cup a year ago, finished 14th in the championship, did have a pole position in that season, racing for Hickson Motorsports. Also contesting MX-5 Cup this year for BSI Racing, alongside this program here with Tech Sport. This time, is he close enough to make the move on Gaples? He is not.
You have to wonder what Ray Sorensen is saying to Tony, and what Tony is saying. Is he giving him a Kimi Räikkönen response? Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing.
Tony's got some sharp elbows. He's a tough guy to get around, and he knows all the tricks in the book. Interesting, though, that there's not any cooperation between the two Nissan teams. That would be the common thread here.
Yeah, I think it's early in the campaigns for that to have been established just yet. Maybe we get deeper into it and there's a championship on the line. There's more of that sort of communication. I think that's every team driver for himself at this point. And Tony continues to gap Gray Newell. That's the car we're looking at right there, the number 24 machine, which is now some 7 seconds behind Tony Gable, sitting in P2 in the Pro-Am division. Kurt Swearingen having another great day, up in a podium spot after the win here yesterday.
Change for the lead in the AM class. Paul Sparta has driven around Roland Crines, the winner yesterday, and taken this number 98 V-Brick Random Vandals Racing BMW to the lead in that class. Great drive for Paul.
Yeah, and they're in the thick of this championship battle, albeit early in the season, so that's a great drive by him, set up by Chris Wilson's really nice opening stint, of course. Sat there in P2 when everyone hit pit lane, I believe.
Leading in the AM class, they've got Kevin Bohm currently just off the podium, 4th in silver. It's a good day right now for Random Vandals Racing, which, remember, will be fielding a car in Fanatec GT later on this season. Really cool driver lineup that includes IndyCar driver Connor Daly. There's Neudorf to the inside. He finally makes that pass stick on Tony Gaples, and now it's Kevin Bohm's turn. Oh, Neudorf with the big slide there.
Yeah, I think if Tony could just let Boehm go and then just sit there and just knock out the laps here to finish this race, that would be the way to go. But he's defending the inside line there.
Sure is. I don't think Tony likes to get past.
He doesn't.
Doesn't matter if it's for position or not.
He's got to be having a blast, though.
That's great to see. He's been a real enthusiast and a big supporter of this paddock for decades.
Neudorf a little bit wide there into Cunningham corner, almost opened up the door.
I wonder how much tire is left. Think about how hard Mackay Stevens had to push in his stint to recover. And it is the same set of Pirelli P0s that has to take you the distance. Checking in on this Heart of Racing squad, Hannah Greenmeyer, Hannah Grisham, currently 3rd in the AM class, and you can see them progressing through the field in terms of their overall position from 24th on the grid all the way up to the 13th spot, so plus 11 overall on the day for these two.
And she's running very similar lap times to Roland Crines, who sits in P2 right now. Sparta now the leader, of course, which you mentioned. Here we go. Here comes Kevin Boehm. Now I think this is the spot to sit into for Tony Gaples. Don't get involved, don't get too racy, just settle back in and consolidate this class lead.
No pressure behind for class position. Gray Newell has dropped out of contention. Of course, Tony's not really keen on listening to you, Calvin. He's still fighting. Trying to hang it out around the outside of Kevin, but Kevin clears it in turn number 1. It's about 8 or 9 seconds now back to Gray Newell, who runs in 2nd in the Pro-Am class. So Gaples at the moment looks like he is in firm contention to pick up a race win here today.
Yeah, just an excellent drive. Just wasn't intimidated by leading the full field back to green. Massive field here, a lot of talent right on his tail, and he just got the hammer down and looked really comfortable doing it. And he stayed pretty racy despite out-of-class cars being all around his ears here for the last 10 minutes or so.
And Hanley has dropped off the pace just a little bit. Still having a solid day, 5th in silver, 6th overall. This is the 2nd place car in Pro-Am, though. Roman DeAngelo started it. Gray Newell currently driving it, and they find themselves 2nd in class at the moment. But remember, this is the car that is going to be investigated post-race for potential contact with the 23 that Neudorf is now driving. Stevens started. Mackay Stevens didn't seem to think there was anything untoward, so that leads me to believe...
That will help.
Yeah, no penalty is likely to be coming, but ultimately the stewards wanted to take a look at some additional data and video after the race.
Well, so close on the opening lap, the cars all nose to tail, and if Mackay admitted that he had a little moment there and then Roman had nowhere to go, I don't think he was being super aggressive. It was just one of those racing incidents.
Penalty has been handed down to the car that you see right there. Johann Schwartz currently driving a 5-second post-race time penalty for incident responsibility. I'm not sure about the incident in question what it is exactly. But Schwartz finds himself in the midst of a battle for the podium here in the Pro-Am class, and that penalty probably is the nail in the coffin, barring anything very unexpected here.
Yeah, and that was with the 18, which is the Roland Krein's car, so I wonder if that's how the lead changed in the AM division.
That is a good piece of deduction there, Cal. So Schwartz will want to clear Swearingen and then try and scoot away, build a 5-second or more margin, and then that penalty will not have too much effect.
Doesn't have a lot of time to do that. Right now he just sits off that Pro-Am podium.
And all the while, RS1 finds themselves out in front. What a weekend this could be for them. Let's remember they won a pair of times in Fanatec GT. They ended up with the win yesterday after the penalty to the Tech Sport car. It could be 4 wins in as many races this weekend alone.
Yeah, that is incredible at this level of competition. As we talk about the depth of the field from driver and team talent levels, to do that is really a huge statement for that organization.
Phil Garris was part of this team's championship-winning effort alongside Stephen McAleer in Fanatec GT 1 year ago. It was supposed to be a Pro-Am effort here in Pirelli GT4 America this year for Eric Filgaris, but a change was made just before the start of the season. JCD, John Capestre-Dubets, was drafted in, and they became instantly a front-running contender in the silver class just as soon as that announcement was made.
Yeah, it's a potent combination. You can look at a team and driver pairing on paper and know they're going to be trouble in terms of championship contenders.
Team, check. Driver 1, check. Driver 2, check. Car, absolutely check. That Porsche Cayman is proven. So the equation's pretty simple. They have all it takes to run at the front.
Tony's just got to lean on all of his years of experience now and just bring it home. Don't have a mental error. Just keep it nice and clean. Don't overdrive the race car, but don't slow it down so much that you lose your rhythm.
2 laps to go now, and this is the best fight towards the front of the field. Colin Garrett up 10 positions on the day, at least this car is, running 2nd overall with Neudorf giving chase. It says on that graphic that they've not moved up or down in this race, but if you've been watching, you know that's not true.
Yeah, it's been a yo-yo.
Oh, my goodness.
Neudorf has got really great pace. He was 0.6 quicker on the last lap over Colin Garrett, so he's got the pace there, but Colin's going to get pretty defensive here with just not much time left on the board.
Young Canadian driver Jonathan Neudorf and Mackay Stevens appeared to be a combination capable to challenge some of the established teams in the silver class. Did not see a silver entry out of Tech Sport a year ago. Just 1 year to the next. It is amazing how much of a leap forward this Nissan program has taken.
Well, it showed bursts of speed last year, but nothing to the consistency or over the full lap that we're seeing this year. It's really a genuine championship contender now. Could be Black Dog Speed Shop that delivers that manufacturer their first class victory here in SRO.
We thought it would be this car here that did it yesterday, and it looked like it was for about 12 hours until the news came that there was the penalty coming. But still, you think about an overall podium plus a class win, 2 cars in the top 5 overall. This is shaping up to be a tremendous day for Nissan. It could be a little bit better as Neudorf appears to be closing in here on Colin Garrett, but he's going to have only 1 more lap to get the job done. John Capestre-Dubets just ahead of this duo is about to take the white flag. There you see it waving in the foreground. JCD with 1 lap to go, looking to go back-to-back here at Sebring International Raceway. Smoothly into turn number 1. Neudorf is certainly there here, Calvin. This is the closest he has been.
Yeah, I think he's going to really push Garrett here on this final lap. Garrett immediately goes on the defense. He's on the left-hand side of the road. Neudorf tries to push it. Garrett's got to force the issue here, but he's going to go side by side. Oh, Neudorf is off the road there, trying to make it possible to stay with him.
Garrett shut the door, bolted it, locked it, anything he needed to do to keep the 23 behind, but it's not done just yet. Neudorf still with a nice bit of momentum coming through Big Bend. Garrett feels it. He'll guard the inside. Can he hang on for a half a lap more?
He's going to have to get real defensive, I think, into turn 10, which is the next brake zone, Cunningham corner.
This is for second and third in the silver class and overall. Look at the power of that Nissan coming around the corner. Able to get to the flank of Garrett once again, but just not close enough to complete the move.
Yeah, Garrett was really proactive there in establishing that right-hand lane into that brake zone. This is a tough one, though. If you compromise here, he doesn't have to do that. He runs his normal line. That's good. He's going to get good exit speed there, but he gets a little bit crossed up coming off. That's going to give Neudorf a run.
Garrett got sideways, trying to put the power down, leaves him vulnerable, but this is a tricky section of the track to go side by side in. Again, Garrett covers off the inside. Neudorf stuck right there, right in the tire tracks of the Autotechnic BMW. Just a couple of corners to go, and it might come down to this exit onto the Ullman Straight. Out in front, John Capestro-Dubet's unchallenged, looking to go back-to-back here this weekend. But right now, the fight is on for second place. Colin Garrett in the BMW. Neudorf creating a lane to the inside. Now back to the outside. Late on the brakes, trying to carry the speed into Sunset Bend. One last time through turn 17. Colin Garrett appears to have fended him off, but at the front, John Capestro-Dubet's RS1. They sweep the weekend at Sebring. Eric Filgaris back in victory lane. The drag race for second goes to Garrett by 0.2 of a second. Kevin Bohm comes home in fourth. Tony Gaples picks up the win. Black Dog Speed Shop back in victory lane. And how about this drive? Paul Sparta, Random Vandals Racing team owner and driver, teaming up with Chris Wilson. They take a top 10 overall, and more importantly, an AM Class win. Their championship bid looks stronger and stronger with each passing week.
That was a fabulous race. Some great racing there, some great stories. First time win for Nissan, that's pretty cool. For JCD and Eric Filgaris sweeping the weekend, RS1.
Now Tony Gaples brought it home, handled the out-of-class traffic with aplomb. But let's give a ton of credit to Max Root, who got drafted in to fill in for Michael Cooper this weekend. Michael down in Miami racing Carrera Cup. That's a program that he already had lined up before this Black Dog Speed Shop program was put together. And so that left Tony Gaples and company scrambling a bit to try and find someone to fill in. Well, they did all right. Max Root announced his arrival in this championship in a big, big way, taking pole yesterday and then dominating the race in the opening stint.
Yeah, it makes a big statement for Max Root, who hasn't been in our paddock for a little while. He's a really great young talent, nice young man as well, and for Tony Gaples to give him the shot and to perform like that, that's what you have to do if you're going to survive in this sport. Every time you get behind the wheel, showcase your talents, and Max Root is the real deal.
That was on full display today. Second in Pro-Am went to Gray Newell, then Kurt Swearingen in this Porsche you see right there, the second Porsche I suppose, came home in the third position. These are your provisional race results. There are a few incidents that will be reviewed post-race, so keep that in mind. But at the line, at least, John Capestro-Dubet's and Eric Filgaris by 3 seconds over Colin Garrett and Zach Anderson. It was much closer than that between Garrett and Neudorf at the line, but a great recovery from Tech Sport. Difficult day yesterday with the penalty coming down, and then of course the big moment for Mackay Stevens, but the two bounced back to finish on the podium. Black Dog Speed Shop back in victory circle, 5th overall winners in Pro-Am. And the AM class, super tight. Top 3 all running nose to tail there at the finish. Chris Wilson, Paul Sparta get the victory today ahead of yesterday's winners, Roland and Austin Crines. Hannah Greenmeyer, Hannah Grisham back on the podium again. They're having a really strong season for the Heart of Racing team in that AM class.
Yeah, really solid season for the two Hannahs. They're going to be a factor in this championship. That class is really, really competitive this year.
Not sure what happened with Smooch Racing. We saw Tyler Gonzalez struggle in the early stages, and it didn't get any better, evidently. John Jesbray brought that car home all the way back in 21st overall. A couple other cars in that mix that just didn't have much fortune in the race here today. Good news, though, for those guys. They don't have to sit there and think about it very long because it's just a few weeks until we head to Circuit of the Americas for the next round.
Yeah, a couple of weeks we'll be back in action, so quick turnaround here. Then a little break through the early part of the summer, a couple of months off, and then we'll return.
And remember, when we get to Coda, different race format.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. 3-hour enduro for these Pirelli GT4 machines.
I haven't talked about that yet, but I think there are a lot of folks in the paddock really excited about the chance to run some longer races with these GT4 cars. For a time, they were eligible to race in the Indy 8-hour, and many of these teams left at that chance to take part in a long-distance race. For various reasons, that changed, and there has been a groundswell of support within the series to do a longer format GT4 race over the last few seasons, and it'll be Circuit of the Americas where we see it in action for the first time.
Yeah, I think the series is looking to get some feedback.
That's JCD. CBW Racing, Community Beer Works, that's CBW. Tom Kopczynski, the man behind CBW, and a big patron of a number of drivers' careers, and a big help and booster to that RS1 team. Yeah, he'll be a happy guy. It's different when you get the win on the road rather than when you get it promoted
time,
to
yeah.
it, right?
They'll take the win yesterday, but this one will be a little bit sweeter.
Well, can't wait to hear from John Capestre-Dubats, Eric Filgaris, and company. We'll let him get that helmet off, and then we'll get it down to Amanda Busick to chat with some happy race winners here in Sebring Victory Circle, Amanda.
Oh, and I'm sure we'll get an Eric Filgaris into this interview at some point. I don't mind drivers taking a little bit, getting their helmet off, because that means they've been congratulated by everyone around them in that delay. And JCD, you got the call late into this ride, and now you already have a win in event number 2 here in the season. You said that you have been adjusting to this Porsche. How did that evolve this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really evolved by having such a great teammate. It was really something to reflect on, and being able to see his data and video really brought me up to speed quick, you know, got me in tune with this car. I really have to thank this team for this opportunity. I think it came about 30 seconds after the announcement of I wasn't going to be with my last team, so very blessed for that, and I can't be more happy to be driving alongside Eric Filgaris.
When I talked to him prior to the race, he just talked about the talent that is in this class, even in your stint. Talk about everyone that surrounds you as we go into this championship hunt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anyone can win any day. I think it's been a great race at every venue so far. I think it's going to get more exciting as we go down the road. Let's go, my boy. And I know Eric and I are ready for the challenge. It looked like they had some pace behind us, but we got that Porsche out front, and I was enjoying the AC and the view.
Well, what you missed was JCD giving you a lot of praise, and actually earlier in the weekend he called you a powerhouse and very deserved of driver 2 in this class. And Eric, when you hear a statement like that, you always feel, with you, I always feel like you have something to prove. Would you say that's true?
I think so. You know, I think we've had a lot of success too, and this is a new driver pairing. It's a brand new program for us, but it's kind of, you know, a similar platform from what we're used to here at RS1. We're a fantastic, it's a fantastic organization. We're really excited to have JCD along with us. This deal came together the week of Sonoma, and JCD has driven with the team before. We have a ton of confidence in him. We know what he can do. We saw what he can do today, and we're looking forward to more W's.
Congratulations to those guys sweeping the weekend here in Sebring. And guys, you said on the win between Tony Gaples and Max Ruth that it'll be the first for Nissan internationally to get in this platform, and it'll forever go to black. And Tony, for your name to be associated with history for Nissan, for the platform, just talk about that accolade and what it means for you as someone that's a veteran in racing.
Well, you know, obviously when you're a veteran, it feels good to do it first. And we're proud to do this for Nissan and Black Dog, and we're really proud to have Max part of it.
Max, you got the call to come join this weekend, and it's someone that is at your part of your career. How important are these wins like this for the resume?
Yeah, they're really special. To be the first winner with Nissan in this series and to do with Tony and Black Dog, it's super special. Sebring's a bumpy place, and Tony did a phenomenal job bringing it home for us today, so super proud of the whole team.
Well done to Black Dog Racing and to those guys. And we know this one is going to be quite the celebration. There is just something about Sebring and Paul Sparta to put it back on the top step, but a podium every race and now spraying champagne. Talk about this season that is unfolding for you.
Well, I mean, it's the best season start we've ever had, and I was really getting tired of number 2. So, you know, they say one's a lonely number. I don't think it's lonely, but the crew just executed perfectly all weekend. Thanks to V-Brick. I mean, it's been a great start to the season. I'm so happy. And I got this guy, too, with his, we got a little of this going on.
Raccoons, baby! Number 1. Love being with this team.
Well, as Paul just said, the execution actually started on your stint. Chris, well done to you. But I see you pacing up and down pit lane when he's in the car. What's harder?
No doubt, pacing. It's way harder being in the pits as opposed to being in the car. All the nervousness goes away when you're behind the wheel, but I knew he could do the job. No doubt in my mind. So, cool.
Well, it'll be a big night in Sebring for Racing Vandals, guys.
Yeah, fantastic results. Great to see that team continues to grow. And again, they've got big aspirations with the GT3 program coming online a little bit later in the season. They've already announced their Indy 8-hour lineup as well, so a lot to look forward to there. Race 2 of the weekend started with the Black Dog Speed Shop Nissan out front, and it was Max Roots who led the field into turn number 1 on the getaway. This was a big moment. Nakai Stevens, running inside the top 5 at the time, plummeted outside of the top 20. But that was a drive to recovery the rest of the way for the Tech Sport team. This was part of that recovery with Newdorf making his way around Hanley. Really close quarters racing here as we saw throughout the course of the day. Able to recover all the way back up to the 3rd spot overall. Really remarkable job. Colin Garrett fighting with Newdorf late in the going, but at the front of the field it was all RS1, JCD, and Eric Filgares get the victory. Class wins to be celebrated as well. But for us, that's a wrap here in Sebring. Thanks to the entire crew. For Amanda and Cal, I'm Ryan. We'll see you at Circuit of the Americas.